Hey gang, we're in the Jeep today and we are headed northbound to Barstow, California, into the Mojave Desert. We are going to be going out into the desert, maybe 10 or 12 miles north of Barstow, to a very famous plane crash site, military plane, midair. And we're going to talk about it there. Right now we're heading down this beautiful, picturesque, almost movie-like highway straight into the mountains. So we'll be in Barstow about 20 minutes, temperature 52 degrees, just before Thanksgiving. Beautiful day in the desert. All right, we'll pick it up. I'll check back in when we get close. Okay gang, we've just arrived in the outskirts from the south, Barstow, California, and I can see ahead we're going to be going into the mountains of the desert, the Mojave Desert. So here's the game plan. We're going to go follow the trail. I've got everything marked on GPS, turns and trail markers, and like I said, we're going to go about 12 miles in, and there's two spots we want to look for. One is for the plane crash of an XB-70 Valkyrie, very famous, where it hit the ground, and then a couple of miles away to the northwest, an F-104 Starfighter, which that was the other plane that collided. So when we get in the mountains, out in the desert, I will check back in. All right, gang, we are on our way to the first of two crash sites here. So we're in the Mojave Desert. It's absolutely stunning in here. Look ahead, you see all these, I believe these are Joshua trees, and there are yucca trees, I believe, or one or the other. And I'm following a GPS trail, and these look like recreational, open to the public, which is pretty cool for ATVs and the such. But you can get lost in here pretty easy. But anyway, let me tell you the story of what's going on. So we have military planes, and these military jets back in the 60s, we're talking about June 8th, 1966, this happened. And the flights came out of Edwards Air Force Base. And there were 5 planes in a formation. And then there was a trail plane, a chase plane. That was actually owned by Frank Sinatra. It was a Learjet. They were doing photography, and they were doing photography for General Electric, who made the motors, the jets of, the engines of all 5 of these airplanes, which were pretty diverse. Centering the formation was a very famous plane that was a long-range nuclear bomber called a Valkyrie, XB-70 Valkyrie. And the thing is just space age, really amazing. But it was pretty much obsolete as they were making it, because the plane was designed to go to Russia. This was the Cold War, carry nuclear bombs, and get in and out of there at like Mach 3 plus, ridiculous speeds, and escape the blast radius before the detonation, you know, that fast. And the idea was no fighters could get it. Well, the reason it was obsolete, even President Kennedy was shutting it down, and then it got shut down after his, I don't know if it was during his candidacy, during his presidency or not, but irrespective, the age of nuclear missiles was coming on, and also we had missiles that could shoot down planes. So which is, you know, it's a ridiculous budget, but General Electric wanted to get this promo done. So out of Edwards, they came out this way. They were flying eastbound. It was in the morning at sunrise. They were coming into the sun, and basically we had the Valkyrie was right in the middle, fronting the V-shaped formation, and on each side there were 2 fighter jets. We had a Phantom, we had different, but the one that we're we're focused on is an F-108 Starfighter, which was piloted by a really amazing guy, Joe Walker, who we'll talk about. So Joe Walker's in the Starfighter. He is under the right wing and low of the Valkyrie, and he's on that inside position with this Learjet way back. They're filming. This is before video. They're actually filming this formation for GE. Now, the problem is they're, they're flying a tight formation. They're flying into the sun, and they get a call from Edwards that says, hey, there's a Hustler, which is a Mach 3-4 that's coming the opposite way. It's a safe altitude above you guys. I've got to check here real quick. We have a V in the trail here, so I've got to check real quick on if I've missed the turn. I think I'm supposed to go left. Yeah, so it's good that I'm watching, or I kind of have an idea of where we're going. So anyway, they're all looking up, and the radio traffic is, hey, we see it. But Joe Walker's silent. Now, here's the thing. The Valkyrie has these droop wings. Thing's massive, delta wing, and his plane, the Starfighter, has a T-tail. That's the vertical tail in the back with a T. So this left T-tail is getting too close to the Valkyrie's wing, which has droop wings. They go 25 degrees down, or they go to, let's see, I got to check here again. Yeah, I'm going to go straight this way. Yeah. And it can go down to 65 degrees down, like, in very slow flight. So they had a 25 degrees, and sadly, with all this confusion, the sun is in their eyes, and Joe Walker's probably looking for the Hustler. And then you have what is called wake vortices. I don't know if you know, anytime as the wing's flying, from all the pressure pushing down the way to the plane at the wingtips, that air gets sucked up, and it's these tornadoes, and the tornado goes up and it's sucking up. So with all of that factors going on, you've got to imagine that Joe Walker is getting maybe sucked up into this Valkyrie. Well, he did. His T-tail hit the bottom of the Valkyrie's droop wing, and it was instant. He went up, he rolled over, and he slid across the back of the Valkyrie, which had two twin stabilizers, vertical stabilizers, and sheared them right off. He sheared them right off, and his plane spun and exploded. He was probably killed right then and there, into two pieces falling, cockpit and the tail section. We're going to go eventually to where the cockpit location is, hopefully. Now, as I look ahead here, there's some type of, looks like a military radar station or something. So as we get closer, let me make sure I'm still, I've got to kind of start veering to the right. I might have to backtrack. We're still kind of on the general course, but I'm hoping we turn right. So I'm just following waypoints. I don't have like a route track of this trail, but I do have pictures of it on Google Earth, so I can always revert back to that. Anyway, so he explodes, and the guys, and you hear midair, midair. You hear the radio traffic, midair, from the other pilots, and they're all breaking away. And the guys in the Valkyrie, so we have Al White, who's the pilot, on the left, and we have Carl Cox, co-pilot, on the right. And they're like, what's going on midair? They don't, and the plane's so big, they don't feel it. This thing's massive. I think it's 100 feet wide. And now without the vertical stabilizers in the back, this thing's going to yaw. It's going to lose control. And it started to. And they were trying to use differential engine pressure, ostensibly, but the engines were all centerline, so that didn't help much. And within 16 seconds, the thing goes into a pancake spin. Now they're in the front and they're spinning. The centrifugal force, the G's, were immense. Now, the way the Valkyrie was designed to eject is you would have, I've got to get more out that way. I'm looking for a right turn. I think this is heading for that radar station. So anyway, I'll continue to tell the story, but I'm going to have to, I think, turn around right up here. I'm going to look for a place. Now with the G's, they're sucked forward, right? They're sucked forward in their seat. And the way the Valkyrie, because, you know, the idea is eject at Mach 3. You can't just eject out, you disintegrate. So they had these clamshell containers or modules that what you have to do is you in your seat, your pilot seat, you've got to lean back, tuck your arms in, and pull your legs up, and then hit the ejection, and this thing would close like a clamshell, and then boom, and it would parachute down with a cushion underneath. So yeah, we've reached the dead end here, so I've got to go. All right, so let me back up. We're going to take that other Y that we had on the road, no problem. So Al White effectively does it. He gets in, but he gets his elbow stuck. It's not in all the way, and the thing closes and jams, shatters his elbow. So it's like 90% closed, but the good news is that he, let's see, I think I can go this way. I'll parallel the road I came in and get back to it. Oh, here comes another, here comes a crazy razor on the left. So he gets out, you know, it's half closed, and he ejects. And the next thing that, hello, that's a really cool razor. And the next thing that happens is he says he sees Carl and is sucked forward and he can't get back. And I think that's why Carl did not get out, sadly. So Carl went down with the ship. So Al White gets out, and this thing spirals down and hits the ground with Carl Cox. And that's where we're going, to where it pancaked into the ground. Very sad. And of course, the Starfighter, we're going to eventually go to that. You know, Joe Walker's, he's done. And that's basically the story. It's very sad. Now, there were 2 of these experimental planes made, Valkyries, and the other one went on to fly for a couple of more years, and then they just shut the whole program down. Now, the cool thing is, and I'm going to go someday, if you go to Dayton, Ohio, you can see the original, the other originals in the museum. Aviation Museum in Dayton, Ohio. So, all right, I'm gonna get back on the dusty trail I'm supposed to be on, and then I'll check back in when we approach the Valkyrie crash site, okay? All right, gang, we have finally made it here to where the XB-70 landed. And the reason I know that is, well, the GPS. Good thing I had this. But there is an American flag, and looks like there is a monument here for this. And I do see the remains of the dead, I think it's a yucca tree. Yeah, you'll see right off here to the left. I'm pulling right up, and I see a cross. Yeah, this is it. Now, one thing I want to do is just stop here. I want to give a shout out to a channel on YouTube where I got these GPS positions from. Forrest Haggerty channel. I'll put the link below. I think he does a lot of traveling, but he was out here, and he will give you, if you want to watch it, like a really detailed analysis of this. And he walked around here and he did drone, and go to his channel. It's a good channel. And thank you, Forrest, because as I go to the next spot, he found the correct location for Joe Walker's crash location of the Starfighter, which is a couple of miles. We got to still go a couple more miles in the desert because the GPS positions were incorrect. So thank you, Forrest. And let's go up here and have a look. I see, yeah, there's a flag, and it looks like somebody made a U.S. Air Force, a really neat, well, it looks like a cross with a, it is a cutout of the XB-70 Valkyrie. Look at that, and a top view. All right, I'll get the other camera and let's walk around. Let's take a look, okay? You know, by the way, if you're coming out in the desert like this, bring a lot of water and bring emergency supplies. I'll actually show you a little bit about what I bring. Of course, I don't, I'm not just bringing one bottle, I'm bringing 24 plus the Gatorades. But yeah, let me just show you real quick. Just any of you that, and some of you may want to come out here to see this. Of course, I have a double sleeping bag, and then I have a backpack that has everything in it. I've got a big medical emergency kit. I've got crackers. At the bottom, I have baked beans, small portions, 5 cans, and you know, the basics. You know, you've got a compass, you've got a Leatherman, lighters, batteries, it's a whistle compass. What else do I have? Headlight. So, you know, all the basics that I'll come back and put this back together. But yeah, just in case you're coming out to the desert, make sure you are prepared. In case your car breaks down, we're, like I say, about 12 miles in. Let's have a look around. So we have the American flag, but the main monument is here, right here. And there's a look at the, yeah, look at that. That's really nice what they made there. Somebody. Oh, and there's another one here. A metal model. Look at that. Of the Valkyrie. So just imagine you're standing here. Yeah. This is where it happened. Now this dead tree, I think that is a yucca tree over there. And Forrest mentioned that tree was here and burned. I see another one way over there. So those are artifacts, if you will. And from what I understand, watching his channel, his episode, that there's all kinds of pieces around here. You don't want to take anything. A lot of people brought stuff out here. And it says this is not a grave, but a man did die here. Please be respectful of this memorial and his memory, and that would be Carl Cox. And here's some of the things that people left. These are the things, as I recall from Forrest. Forrest was here a month ago. Those are pieces that he found and left. Very respectful. Yeah, so this is it. And I think he said that the front of the plane hit, when it hit, it was facing, this is south, and it hit pancake this way. And the back of the plane, I mean, it was massive, was over there. So it just, this is it, right where the Jeep is and beyond. This is where it was. And it's absolutely silent here. It's beautiful. Nothing here. But the trails and the trees. All right, so I'm sure it could scout around for artifacts, but I don't think that's appropriate. Well, here and in the sky above, Carl Cox lost his life and his soul left. So this is a powerful place. Anybody comes here, respect his memory, as the sign says. Okay, so we are now going to get back in the Jeep, and we're going to head northwest about 2 miles down the dusty trail, and we're going to find the location of where Joe Walker went down and where he was found, his remains were found. And then after that, we're going to go to the cemetery in Lancaster. All right, let's go. All right, guys, with great difficulty backtracking, hitting different trails, it's just, there's so many ways in and so many of the trails are blocked, but I think this is the location of where the tail section came down. Yeah, so let's jump out and have a quick look. So you see these all over the place. My GPS position markers on the trail that I thought I was going to take, many of them were blocked off, so I've had to do backtracking and all kinds of other things. By the way, I forgot to show you, it's always key to have knives. I have two. I have one in the pack. I forgot to pull it out. But yeah, with the survival stuff, I've got rope, tarp, I've got fat wood. I've got fat wood that I put in pencil sharpeners to make shavings so you can start kindling. So don't think I'm shy. But let's take a look at this beautiful memorial marker. So from what I understand, this is where the tail section came down. Yeah, Joseph Walker, NASA Chief Test Pilot. Yeah, nice memorial here, but this is not where his cockpit, this is not where the cockpit went down. Boy, people made some beautiful things here. Oh no, we've got to keep going up the dusty trail, and this is the right direction. This is what I'm seeing all over the place, and I've already had to double cookie trail my way so I can find my way back. I mean, we've got the sun, which is good, so I'll always know my orientation. So, all right, I'll check back in. Look at some of these trees. Okay, well, you're not bringing your station wagon up here, gang. That's for sure. Pickup truck will make it. So far, I haven't seen anything crazy, but don't bring your regular car. You will get stuck. Okay, gang, we are approaching where Joe Walker's cockpit landed. It should be right up here. Oh yeah, there, I see a cross right up here at the top of this hill. Yeah, there it is. You should be able to see it. All right, let's park here and we'll walk up there and take a look. And we'll shut the Jeep off. All right, let's go right up, have a look. Yeah, we're right in a little valley here. And just, again, thanks to Forrest for giving us the GPS. Made it very easy. There is a cross up here for him. Right at the top of this hill, right here. Looks like an American flag was here. Pieces of the plane. You can see. Yeah, look at this. Looks like somebody took the pieces and put them on a shoelace. Those are like melted chunks of aluminum. Look at that. So these rocks have, look at this. These aren't just any old rocks. This is an amalgam, it looks like, of part of the plane that melted right to these rocks. Wow, I hear a jet. Passing overhead here. Yeah, look at that. These are melted. Imagine the inferno. Look at that. Well, this is where Joe was probably already dead when he hit. I mean, that explosion, there's pictures of it. The ground here has all kinds of, well, it's gravel, but it looks like it's molded with metal, maybe. A lot of these, there's a lot of pieces like that. I think that's military, guys. I don't see it. Yeah, right on the hill here. Right on the hill. Look at the scenery. It's breathtaking here. And there it goes, flying away. All right, well, we're gonna head to Lancaster right now. And we're gonna find Joe Walker's grave, and we're gonna pay respects to Joe. Carl was buried in, I think, Tennessee. Maybe we'll get there someday, but I'm gonna go near Lancaster, in Lancaster, which is near Edwards Air Force Base, not too far. And let's pay respects, Joe Walker. All right, gang, we have made our way to Lancaster, California, and the crows are here, many of them. We're about, I'm going to say, about a half hour's drive to the southwest of Edwards Air Force Base. Yeah, I'm going to guess about 25 miles from here. And this is where Joe Walker lived, his wife Grace, the family. So we're going to go visit their grave. Grace passed away in 2022 and wanted to come here, pay respects to them, and tell you a little bit about Joe and some of his accomplishments. Now, just going back to the early years, he was born in Washington, Pennsylvania, graduated from Trinity High School there in 1938, went on to college. Staying there in Washington, he earned a bachelor's degree in physics from Washington and Jefferson College. That was in 1942. And as we know, the war had started less than a year before for America, the United States entering the war, that is. And he entered the U.S. Army Air Forces at that point. Now, during World War II, very interestingly, Joe flew the famous Lockheed P-38 Lightning fighter, and also a derivative of that, the F-5A Lightning photo recon aircraft. It's a modified P-38, but he was flying it on weather recon flights. And during the war, he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross in July of 1944 and the Air Medal with 7 oak leaf clusters. After the war ended, Joe joined the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, Aircraft Engine Research Laboratory in Cleveland, Ohio, and there he was an experimental physicist. Now, while in Cleveland, he became a test pilot, and he was conducting icing research in flight, as well as testing in the wind tunnel. There he transferred to the High-Speed Flight Research Station here at Edwards, 1951, and that's where his career really elevated. And we're going to talk about one of his accomplishments. Now, Joe was married to his wife Grace. I believe they had 4 children. And I want to single out one of his very famous accomplishments. So Joe was part of the X-15 program. X-15, super high, super fast, and that's a scary, this was right on the cutting edge, and really on the edge of the atmosphere, into space basically. It was August of 1963 when he took on this, very notable, probably the height of his accomplishments, I think, in the X-15, one of 2 missions he would undertake in that ship. And it was, it really says a lot about who he was. And you talk about bravery, boy, oh boy. It was his 25th and last flight with the program. He would attempt a flight to near what they projected to be at the time the maximum altitude. They had predicted that the X-15 was capable of reaching 400,000 feet. That's over 75 miles up. Guys, outer space starts at about 62 miles. That's into space. Now, the simulations had shown that a safe re-entry from that altitude was very risky, so they planned for 360,000 feet to give him a little safety margin. And as he piloted the X-15, He was airdropped, of course, from the supporting aircraft, the Boeing NB-52A Stratofortress, a beast of a bomber, and this one was called the High and Mighty one, and they dropped him at 45,000 feet. Now that's where he ignited the reaction motors, which is a rocket engine, 57,000 pounds of thrust. Imagine a burn duration estimated to be over 84 seconds. And he did it. He ignited it, and after a smooth ignition, he pulled back on the controls, and he basically put this thing, he put it in a 45-degree climb, and up he went. Imagine the G's. And imagine what's going through your mind. You're going so fast. It was over 3,000 miles per hour at a certain point. And you got to be wondering, you know, is this ship going to hold together? And if it doesn't, it's all going to be over in an instant. You won't even know what happened. It takes a lot of bravery, I'll tell you, to do something like that. Well, once the engines burned out, he was just passing 33 miles up, and the speed was 3,800 miles per hour. And if you can imagine, the ship went into a, you know, it's coasting, and basically would coast all the way up to the peak altitude, which in my mind, it just seems impossible. But that's how the physics. Well, it would take almost 2 minutes to reach that peak altitude after that burnout, and Joe and his X-15 reached the peak of their ballistic trajectory right at 354,000 feet, which is just over 67 miles high. Well, he pitched the nose down. He pitched the nose down to the proper attitude for atmospheric re-entry, and the X-15 decelerated as it hit the Earth's atmosphere. They say that Joe experienced as much as 7 Gs, and the rocket plane's aerodynamic control surfaces became operational as it descended down through 95,000 feet. At 70,000 feet, Joe pretty much leveled it out and started a very slow descent. And just imagine how, sitting there, he's like, this is the easy part, but the game's not over yet. But he coasted it all the way down for a smooth landing at Edwards Air Force Base. Just imagine. A successful flight, that I might add, and a record that would hold for some 41 years. So this guy was something really special. And that is just one of his accomplishments. You talk about brave. That is a brave guy. That's beyond brave. And as a pilot, I can tell you, in my little tiny way, to try to put myself in his shoes, which I could never do. I've been through huge turbulence, the wings vibrating, and you know, it's that feeling like, man. And there have been structural failures on airplanes where the wings come off, and I couldn't imagine how you would have the bravery to go through what he did. But that's what those experimental test pilots would, day in and day out. A lot of famous guys, Chuck Yeager, a lot of World War II veterans. I think most of them were. So anyway, right here is their grave. Joe and his wife Grace. As I said, she passed away 2022. I believe it was January. I'll see if the date, no, there's no dates on here. Now I see two names, two sons. So maybe they just had two kids. I read somewhere it was 4 kids, but what a beautiful stone. And there is a picture of Joe. That is one of his, an etching of one of his famous pictures, guys. Look at that. See the back? It says NASA. That looks like the X-15 to me. So, sons Robert and Joseph. Looks like Robert passed away in, oh wait, 1956, so 2 years old he passed away. And Joseph is still alive. I guess one son survives the family. So we'll put this for Grace. The yellow rose. Yellow rose signifies friendship, guys. Yeah, it was 1966. We put a penny down here. A sign of respect. You see coins for those that served in the war, veterans. Generally, money is a sign of respect, but we've talked several times of the meaning of the different coins for veterans. But just in closing, Joe was a really good father, a family man. He took part in the community activities here. He was with the family, with the Methodist Church here in Lancaster, and there he was involved in many outreach programs. He was also a member of the Antelope Valley YMCA. And as you can imagine, he was always in high demand here. The community came calling many a time. And he would answer the call, just like for his country. Joe, they say, would judge for beauty pageants. He did whatever they needed, even chili cook-offs, anything for the community, all kinds of activities. But in the end, Joe could be described best as a giver, a good man. So, got a lot of respect for Joe Walker. Okay, guys, that concludes the story of Joe and family and his career. And may he rest in peace. I'll see you on the next one.